Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Just Ship It. I'm so excited to have Matt here today, and Matt is the author of Total TypeScript. I don't know if you all have heard of Total TypeScript, but you can go to totaltypescript.com. It's definitely been blowing up lately, Matt. I hear about it everywhere.
That's good. Thank you. My minions have done their work, spreading the news.
And I see you everywhere too, so you're doing a great job at just being everywhere all at once.
Thank you. That's a strange compliment. If I feel sort of like Doctor Strange, like splitting my body out, and that's fun.
Have you seen that movie, by the way, the whole Everything Everywhere All at Once?
No, I haven't actually.
Yeah,
I've heard it's amazing.
movie.
Okay, a terrible movie? No, is it?
I don't know. My sister watched it like 3 times and said it was the most amazing thing she's ever seen in her life. Me, I don't know. I wasn't into it. Yeah. So you'll have to see in your free time. But so you have been like, I don't know. All of a sudden everybody's talking about Matt. Matt TypeScript. No. You are one in the same.
Being a sort of like, I don't know. I'm sort of even slightly too British to call myself modest, which is really strange. So that's a slightly uncomfortable position for me, but I've somehow managed to occupy it, I think, which is very odd to me.
Well, let's see. We were talking before this, and you said you've been on the scene, like the developer scene, since what, 2018, right?
Yeah.
So it's only been what, five years-ish, or maybe a little bit less?
Yeah, nearly 6 years, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
I know. So it's been very fresh, really. Before that, I was a singing and voice teacher for quite a while, and I sort of ran my own websites and stuff. And I knew some fundamental things about web development, like servers and things, but I couldn't code in any languages. But it was in about 2017, really, or 2016, actually, when I was doing my thesis, that I got bored writing my thesis, and I thought, well, I might learn a bit of JavaScript. That seems a bit like fun, because there was lots of really ambitious things I wanted to do, like measuring the quality of your voice using Fourier transforms and stuff.
Nice.
And so like the first thing I ever tried to do was like something with the web audio API and like transforming stuff into and like phonetic translators, all these really crazy things. So I started out at the really complex end of things. I didn't want to make myself a website. I wanted to change the world, through JavaScript.
Yes. Don't we all, though?
Yeah, right. Well, I've got a bit jaded, I think. I just want to live in my happy little world.
No, that's really cool. That's really cool. So you started to get into web development because you were trying to like build something?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wanted to build, I was doing a lot of one-to-one teaching at the time, and I wanted to essentially be a better teacher. And I felt like I was delivering the exercise as well that I was taking people through, but I wanted to make some kind of interactive parts of the lessons, little flashcards and things, or little applications that when you click something, it would make a sound, or things like that. And I did that for about a year and a half or something. And I felt like I got okay at it. And then I realized, maybe I could get a job doing this. That would be quite fun. Do this full time. That would be interesting. And so I did. It was 2018, so I could get a job doing it.
Yeah.
And because people were desperate for devs.
What was your first job?
I worked for a company that built, how to explain it? It's like sort of monitoring devices for elderly people so that they could live in their homes like independently longer. And I was the only front-end dev on the team. And so I was sort of doing all the graphs for, your Auntie Jean moved then, and then she was in the kitchen, and then she was in here, and that sort of thing.
Wow.
Lovely company filled with lovely, lovely, lovely people. It was a great first job, but they hit financial trouble. I had to leave within like 5 months, and so I went to work for an agency.
Yeah.
And then another agency, and then I got into open source after that.
How did you find open source?
Fun, really fun. I got very lucky, I think, because I started working on. I started getting interested in a library called XState, and XState is a state machine, state chart library by David Khorshid. He was the guy who started it. And it's sort of mostly run by this company called Stately now, that sort of built out of the XState core team. And I sort of found myself on the XState core team because I was writing articles about Stately. I started contributing some code, and I was trying to fix the TypeScript types as well, or make them better. And in the process of doing that, I got myself into the Stately core team, or XState core team. And then when Stately was founded, I was part of the founding crew. So I was one of the developers on it.
That's cool.
Yeah. Very lucky. I mean, not many people start working on an open source library and then a company is founded out of that library. That's a strange jump, and it happened quite quickly. It happened within a year or so.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's because, David's been talking about starting a company. I know David from, oh my gosh. Actually, what's funny is, I mean, when did me and David meet? I think it was like 2017 or 2018. Maybe it was like around 2018. So he'd been thinking about it for a while.
Yeah.
But Stately came into, it was like 2021, right?
Yep, that's right.
When Stately actually fundraised and all that other stuff, which we're happy to be investors of as well at this dot.
Oh, so, nice.
Yeah.
Oh, you were paying my wages for a bit there. Thank you very much.
All the worlds collide, in some way or another. So you were just like excited about XState generally, like, yeah. I mean, it's just such a cool thing, and I feel like it helps developers a lot. So
and it helps them in the same way that TypeScript does too. Like, it gives you really good constraints, and it. I was able to build something that it was when I was at the agency that I was working at before I went to Stately, we were working on a product called Agent Relay. And what that did, it was like, in COVID, estate agents wanted to be able to show people around houses and stuff. And so it was like a 3D model of a house, and then you moved around it, and like the agent moved, and like it synchronized between computers. And then it was also like, we're doing a video call at the same time. And so perfect for a state machine, because you had to handle all of these different connections at once and handle all of these different movements and orchestrate it all. And it was amazing. So nice to use Stately for that.
Yes. I feel like it just reduces the load, like the mental load you need to, just like TypeScript, right? It reduces the mental load you need to keep it all in your head, or have like, a really high level architect, like figure it out for everybody. So I feel like it's, doing harder problems for people with less experience is also a really good reason to use it. So use XState, y'all. Okay, so you're at Stately, open source, and then then what?
Then what? Then I was learning all this stuff about TypeScript, and I got really interested in it, and I started sort of like helping people out online, and because people would post about TypeScript, and I would be in the comments saying, maybe you could try this or try this. And sometimes I got it right, and sometimes I got it wrong. But I kept learning, and I kept hanging on the coattails
of Overflow or Twitter or
Twitter. Yeah, on Twitter.
All Twitter, okay.
Yeah, all Twitter. There's lots of people who do that on Stack Overflow as well, but I never quite got into that. Just Twitter always seemed friendlier, and which is saying something. And
right.
Yeah, and on GitHub too. So I would be doing things in the in various issues and stuff, and helping people out.
Like on the TypeScript repo and stuff like that?
On the XState repo, actually. A lot of people had sort of TypeScript questions with XState, and so there was a lot of sort of crisscross.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, and after that then, I started posting about XState, and I sort of developed a small following, for 3,000 or 4,000 followers, I think. And I started then posting about TypeScript and about the advanced TypeScript stuff that I was learning, about how to map types into different types, transform types, do interesting things with types. And that just sort of exploded. It felt like a whole different, fish that I was trying to get in.
Reel in. Yeah.
Reel in, thank you.
Yes. You had a whale on your...
I had a whale on my thing, yeah. So before I was dealing with little minnows and mackerel and stuff, but I had a real, like a fighter there. I felt a whole different tug, and
interesting.
Different motivation, different feeling I was getting back, and I just started pouring in followers. So I just, like I queued up like 18 videos or something. I just sat down and recorded 18 2-minute videos on a Sunday, and I just queued them up, and I went from 4,000 to 10,000 followers on Twitter.
Yeah.
And it was just, okay, right, there's something here. And so I immediately started thinking, went back to my singing teacher days, and I thought, how would I, because I always wanted to be a kind of singing teacher that had lots of online resources, like someone who could sell stuff passively. That was such a really nice goal to aim for, but bloody hard. And there's not really a singing teacher community online like there is for dev, like nothing remotely close. And so I started thinking, okay, how can I get something out of this, or like turn this into something, because I'm obviously really interested in it. I want to see if it can work. And so I contacted Joel Hooks, and Joel Hooks is the guy behind Egghead and behind some some of the really prominent courses that have come out in the last few years, like Kenzie Dodd's Epic
But
React.
how did you know? How did you know to contact Joel? Or did you just like know he did this?
I knew he did this. So I knew he did, he calls it, well, he used to call it Wes Boss as a Service, which is basically he like provides all the back end stuff, provides a course platform, and he lets people, it's now called Badass Courses. So you can go to badass.dev, and it's an amazing, beautiful website.
But like, does everyone know Joel does that? Like, how did you know?
I knew, how did I know? I think I was on the ACAB mailing list, and I think I read an email about it.
Oh, got it. Okay.
And then also, I think I met him as well. So I met him for the first time in Utah, where I went for Remix Conf. God, is that last year? That's last year, yeah. Wow.
Oh my gosh. 1 year ago.
1 year ago, yeah.
1 year ago. Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
All of this is just all of this, I've been doing this for 18 months, right, Tracy? This is an astonishingly accelerated timescale. My head is spinning. Like, it's unreal how fast this all happened. And I'm still getting to grips with it, really. And so I contacted him, and I remember actually I went to Utah, and then I went immediately to JSConf Budapest. And so I was lying in bed in Budapest. I couldn't really sleep. And I just sort of like got my phone and I said, Joel, you want to make a course? And he said, yeah. And so, because he could see that things were blowing up on my end, I knew that he had the skills to be able to deliver something. And so we got together, and I knew that I wanted to do it part-time at first because I wasn't sure if it was going to succeed. And this sounds really weird. I got a part-time job at Vercel.
Well, everyone was going to Vercel, right? So like, what was that, like 2020? It was 2022.
Last year. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So just last year, because I mean, Vercel was hiring everyone.
Yeah. And still hiring everyone, it seems.
Yeah.
And I went there at a really exciting time. I got to work on Turbo Repo with Jared Palmer.
Nice.
I got to write some of the documentation for Turbo Pack as well when they announced that for the conference. I got to fly out to San Francisco as well. But by that time, I knew that the TypeScript stuff was just exploding. We'd done a pre-release and it had done really, really well. And I knew, okay, right, let's just ship it, right? That's the
hardest part, right? Yeah. It really is the hardest part to just do something.
Well, I had so much evidence by that point that it was going to work. I mean, even taking the job at Vercel, it was a weird decision because it's somewhere that I'd always wanted to work.
Yeah.
Because it had such good energy about it, and it felt like that from the inside. It's a marvelous place to work.
Yeah.
But then I was contrasting that with the idea of, maybe I could just go all in on this,
Yeah.
So, but that's where we are now. So I'm now a year later, really. Still working on total TypeScript stuff, putting out more modules, building out.
I love that. I think that really goes to show, though, right? Like this, because I think we all struggle with it. So it's funny because when I first started getting into, JavaScript, or I was new or whatever, right? Like, you just do stuff to do stuff because you're excited about it, right? Yeah. Like, who cares? And you don't really have a purpose except for, your own passions. And then you kind of like fall into something. But then like when you're in something, like I'm in something right now, right? Like I don't know, I'm in JavaScript, I guess, like in the JavaScript ecosystem. But then, you kind of get stuck. And I see this about like conference talks as well, right? Like the more senior you get, the more you're like, well, what do I talk about? Versus like just talking. But then if you can just do something and do something you're excited about and find some sort of niche or whatever it is, then okay, great things will happen. So there's really something just to be said about, just shipping it.
Yeah. I feel just so lucky because I feel like I didn't have to make many decisions along the way. It was just obvious from really February February just last year.
So like a year and a half ago, right?
A year and a half ago, yeah. I posted my first video, I think, on February 24th or something, February 26th or something. And from even that first video, I could tell this is something different, and it just kept growing and growing and growing. And so those little small bets, just putting little bits of content out in the world, they've all really just built a picture where it was obvious that was the thing. I didn't have to stretch, really.
I love that. And I want to talk more about Total TypeScript, but I have to do a sponsorship readout really quickly. Wanted to take a moment to acknowledge our sponsor, which is my company, This Dot. My team lets me do, fun things like this. So thank you, team. But we are a development consultancy. We love JavaScript. We get to work on some really cool things: Stripe, Xero, Wikimedia, DocuSign, Twilio, Google, etc. And we really like to solve problems. So my VP of engineering was talking to me the other day, and we're trying to solve this company's engineering issues. Engineering is not hard. People are hard, which is why engineering is hard. And he's like, if I didn't have to work, I would go work for this company for free just to solve their problems. Because the more problems an engineering team has, right? Like the more low-hanging fruit there is to just fix all the problems. So
absolutely. Yeah. I live that stuff. Yeah, I love that stuff.
Well, we like to solve problems. A lot of it is bridging the gap between business and technology, or modernizing legacy systems, or just going in being like, oh my gosh, let's just help. Because I would, you try to save people from their own problems. But anyways, if that sounds interesting, you can check out thisdot.co. That's THISDOT.co. Okay, so Total TypeScript. So you did the pre-sale, and you're like on a rocket ship, and now you're retired.
Yes. Well, except not. We sort of keep raising the stakes, really, because we thought, okay, what can we do after Total TypeScript? Because we finished that. And we immediately thought, okay, a React module makes sense. Everyone's using React. React is a little bit painful with TypeScript, so let's make a module to fill in that gap. And so we did. I think we've pre-sold that. Not sure we've had the launch sale for it yet, but it might have done by the time this goes out. I think it's pretty soon.
Yeah.
And then after that, I sort of realized Total TypeScript is really based around the idea that of my USP, which at the time was I'm the guy that can teach you advanced TypeScript. Like my first draft of the course really was called Advanced TypeScript, because that's the thing I felt like I could offer that no one really else was selling. Talking about type transformations, generics, and all these kind of crazy advanced patterns that you see out in the wild. And those tips always did really, really well. And I never really got a sense for talking to beginners about TypeScript. I don't find it very interesting, really, just to talk about, this is how you annotate a type, this is how you do a return type. This is, or at least that stuff I've never seen that stuff go viral on Twitter. It doesn't do very well.
Yeah.
And so there was a sort of gap in Total TypeScript, which was it's still a crazy course in terms of the amount of stuff it teaches you. We get amazing feedback on it. But there's a gap in there, which is it's not necessarily a course you would choose if you want to train your entire dev team on it.
Yeah.
And you just go, it's not a no-brainer in the way that something like Epic React is, which will take you from absolutely nothing all the way up to React Genius. And so that's the missing area that we're filling now with this new module.
Yeah.
This new module is bigger than anything we've ever shipped before. It's enormous, and we're also turning it into a book as well.
Nice.
Very exciting.
Well, people do say, hot takes all around that React has really bad TypeScript support.
Yeah. It's okay. But they're
who you talk to in the internet.
Well, they've got really weird constraints, because they can't ship any TypeScript major changes without shipping a React JavaScript major change. And that's different from a lot of libraries, actually, which don't have that constraint. So I sort of wish that in some ways they would move faster or do slightly different things, or actually just even have better documentation for React and TypeScript, which they are working on that. But it's medium good at the moment.
Yeah.
I think they know that, and there's someone on the team working on it.
And then, for you, and okay, so, you haven't been in development that long. I mean, you've been in it, but I guess you haven't been in open source generally that long, or had a full-time developer job for that long. So how do you know, how do you learn it? How did you get to where you are?
Good question. I mean, I think I moved jobs quite a lot when I was early on. I left my first job because the company sort of was in financial difficulty. Like after 5 months, I moved to an agency, and the agency was not a very nice place to work, and then left there after 9 months, moved to a different place that was okay, but then found a better job somewhere else. And it was, like the last few years have been pretty good for devs, like in terms of, especially I think in the UK, I felt I could always interview very well. And so I got a experience of lots of different development environments and lots of different problems and different technologies very quickly.
Yeah.
And I just always felt like I was growing, and I felt like I was hungry for more information, which was part of the reason I wanted to move jobs quite a lot.
Yeah.
And from then I went onto open source, and open source is a whole other category of interesting issues and interesting problems. And I just started, diving in and started eating my fill. And so I think that's how, because it feels like it's been quite a long time to me, but sort of when you just pace it out, and I feel confident offering advice. I mean, maybe I shouldn't feel confident. Maybe I'm just a bloody charlatan, But also, I try to narrow down my advice into stuff that I know is true, and especially with TypeScript, and especially with like offering these tips. I don't feel qualified to tell you how to choose a database or how to index something or like blah, 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 blah. What I do feel qualified to say is this will make your TypeScript performance slightly better, or this is how you should structure your TypeScript code, because that's a problem space I've just been in for 3 or 4 years, which is quite a long time for a TypeScript dev.
Yes, absolutely. But how do you keep up on like all the new stuff?
Yeah. So, I mean, because I'm independent, I sort of see it as my job to be the guy that is the one touch point that you need to stay in touch with what's happening in the TypeScript world. I think that's part of sort of where I'm pivoting to. I don't just want to be the tips guy. I want to be the kind of TypeScript news guy.
Yes,
and TypeScript ships a lot. So they ship like 4 new versions every year, or give or take. And TC39 as well, which is sort of politically part of TypeScript already. Oh no, that's incorrect to say. It's part of that same TypeScript conversation. New JavaScript features that land in TC39 end up in TypeScript. And so I really want to be that guy for people, because that was a challenging thing when I started out, really. I just sort of had to be on Twitter 24/7, because I always felt like something was going to come down the pipe and change. Like, I remember optional chaining did that when it landed a few years ago, and React hooks, when that landed, really changed my day-to-day job. Yeah. And I want to be that person that's always in, the guy that you listen to when that stuff comes.
And then one day the TypeScript team will say, we don't want this anymore. Here you go, Matt.
What, don't want TypeScript anymore?
Yeah, just
no.
Hand you over the keys.
God, no. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I mean, the stuff that they're doing, the amount of difficult decisions they have to make is astonishing. And the amount of... It's a small team, and that small team has been making very difficult decisions for years and years and years and years and years. And I wouldn't want to be have that to be my sole responsibility.
What drives you? This is like so exciting. It's so exciting to hear about your journey and just generally watch it too.
Thank you. I think I'm quite restless, and we were talking about this before we went on, and I think I'm always interested in trying to enjoy my work as much as possible, because I think that was advice I always got when I was a kid. You should always enjoy what you do. But I think the quest to enjoy what I do means I tend to give up if something is boring. I find it very hard to just do work that I find meaningless but I know is effective. So for me, I'm really interested in different content forms, in trying to use visual imagery in my videos currently. That's something that I'm really interested in. And before that, it was about content choice. How do I build up this database of content options? And I'm really interested in improving my own processes and trying to be better every day, because I think if you're not getting better, if you're just doing the same thing over and over again, it gets really, really dull. And I think that's it, really. And I think that's too why I changed jobs so often when I was a junior and a mid, because I just wanted to get more information and see what other people were doing and try new things and that kind of thing. So that's why I think I'm personality matched so well to be a dev, actually, because development is all about solving problems, and it's it's gorgeous and wonderful activity to do. And I wish I did more like day-to-day developments. I worked on my friend's website for like a day, like 3 weeks ago, and I'm still thinking about it.
That's funny.
I want to do it. I want to be back doing it. So.
Yeah, he wants to hear that. It's like this random lady posted on Facebook last night actually, and she said, "Can somebody is there somebody in school that can help me build a website for my, at-home confection business?" And I posted, I said, "Look, it's going to be cheaper for you just to set up a Squarespace, and it's only going to take a few hours." And she said, "Oh, I just can't do it because it's like me doing taxes. I hate doing taxes. It's going to take me never. I mean, I'll never do them if I have to do them."
I'm so glad I don't live in the US, I have to say, just for the tax reasons, actually. Oh, God. So much easier in the UK. Yeah. Holy God.
But like with her, right, it's like, oh, I want to do, if I had some time, could I just do it? So, but I love that because, it's interesting because, you could look at any problem, right? Like, for example, total TypeScript as your project and be like, well, I'm done with it. It's working. Now what? But instead you're kind of going, you're doing the same thing, but you're not doing the same thing. So you're thinking about like the types of courses, you're thinking about, illustrations or graphics, or you're thinking, so it's keeping you occupied enough to try to like improve certain things in it to keep you entertained.
Absolutely. I think I've been in that position before where I felt like I couldn't improve things, and like at previous jobs and things, or or even before I went into development as well. And that's just a recipe for burnout, isn't it? When you feel a disconnect between your actions and your sense of mastery. You want to keep getting better at things, and if you feel like you're just doing stuff and you're just spinning the wheel and you're not making contact with the ground, you're not moving, then you're toast. That's a recipe for not very fun feelings.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so next step is writing the book, finishing the book.
That's right. Yeah. So I'm currently filming the module that's going to accompany the book. So the module is going to be part of Total TypeScript, and then we're going to turn the module into text, and then basically, I think I've got to film 300 or 400 videos over the next couple of months.
Oh my goodness.
I'm about 80 through. So, and I've got to go to a
conference
this week. Yeah, that's not bad. I did that all last week, actually. I had quite a good week where I did 80 videos. So if I keep up that pace, it'll be done soon. But then we take all of the text from that and turn it into a book format, basically. And so it's going to feel like a Total TypeScript course, but a lot more affordable and on your bookshelves.
Yes. I could see you going into like, TypeScript for high schoolers, TypeScripts for elementary school, TypeScript for babies, TypeScript. I guess babies don't need to learn TypeScript, but I do have a JavaScript for babies book.
Really?
There's like HTML for babies and CSS for babies.
Let's not debate about what programming languages are easier to teach babies. I don't know. I feel like semantic HTML for a baby sounds pretty hardcore. And, man, I don't think I could learn CSS even at this age.
The books are, I don't know. I mean, they're cute, but they're not useful. But I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I have them. So what can I say?
Why not?
Okay, so where do we find you?
Yep, I'm on Twitter at Matt Pocock UK, and all of my stuff is on totaltypescript.com. So a bunch of I've just been plowing through articles, a bunch of free tutorials as well. So if you want to learn like TypeScript from a beginner point of view, there's a really, really nice beginner tutorial that's free, that's sort of into the style of the professional modules. So interactive exercises, problem solutions. Yeah, you'll love it.
Oh my gosh, how fun. Well, cool. Thanks so much for joining us. And everyone check out, can't wait till the book. Oh, do you have a release date? Do you know when?
Oh, God, no, don't put that kind of pressure on me, Tracy. I've got 320 videos to record. Leave me alone.
Like me asking the Svelte team, I was like, well, Runes is out. So when's the next release, y'all?
V5.
They're like, soon.
Yep. I'm allergic to timescales, so
yes.
Terrible.
Oh, well, thank you again, and thank you everyone for joining us, and we hope to see you next time.